recording. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Stylfemina Talks. And today with me is Dr. Jane Thomason. Dr. Jane is a futurist and a thought leader in rapidly developing fields of the metaverse and blockchain technology. She's also a well-known author. She's on the editorial board of the Journal of Metaverse and also of Frontiers in Blockchain. And she has published more than 40 peer-reviewed articles in various journals. She's also known as a change maker. She has authored a couple of books, maybe more than that, but I'm aware of two. So I will tell you about the first one, which is Web3. And it is all about advancements in the new world of Web3. Probably this is the title of the book, but I think I should ask Dr. Jane to talk about her books herself and tell you more about them. But before this, I will tell you about all the wonderful awards that she has won. So she's been listed among top 100 women in crypto in 2020. She has won the award Women in Government Technology 2019. She's also won top 10 Digital Frontier Women's Award. She's been awarded by the United Nations as UN Decade of Women 2018. She's also been awarded top 100 Fintech Influencers of SDGs in 2018. And now she's also top woman in technology by Stylefemina in 2023. That is amazing and commendable. And I salute you for being so amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Jane. And now I would like to talk about you, and I want to know more about your career from you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the award. And it's wonderful to be speaking to you and to your listeners. My career, really, I started when I was 16 years old. My mother took the children on a community aid abroad study tour to Indonesia, where we looked at Oxfam and community aid abroad projects, working with the poor farmers in Central Java. And I was really inspired by the work of a woman that I met on one of the projects who had been an Australian volunteer working there already for 14 years with these poor communities. And I just really felt inspired by her work and what she'd achieved. And it was that moment that made me really want to go and somehow work in some sort of humanitarian social impact kind of environment. So that's what gave me my inspiration. And really for all my life, from those early days, I've been working mainly in health, to be honest with you, and a lot of it in developing countries in Asia and the Pacific. And this was actually what kind of gave me this inspiration to start working with technology in 2016, because I hadn't really worked with technology, but I'd been working in many poor countries and I'd seen the challenges that people had of not having identity, not being connected to the financial system, not being able to get information when they needed it, not being able to get their goods to market, and so many things. And then in 2016, my son told me I needed to go and learn about blockchain, which was a very pivotal moment. And it took me some time to understand blockchain because it's a complex and confusing technology. And at that time, really, most people were just thinking of it in terms of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and money. They weren't thinking about it in terms of social impact. But one day, after about 6 months of learning about this and trying to understand it, I just had this eureka moment where I was thinking about a humanitarian setting in Indonesia after the tsunami. We had worked after the tsunami on rebuilding the health system. And I suddenly had this moment of realization that the tragedy was that people were lost to sea. But in that moment after the crisis, no one knew who was lost. No one knew who were the people in the camps, in the hospitals. You couldn't send money to the survivors in any way because there was no mechanism for directly sending money. No one had identities. The health records were lost. The bank records were lost. And so I suddenly could see how a technology that allows the safe, secure exchange of data, peer-to-peer exchange of money, the recording of your bank records, your health records, your education records securely on a blockchain could have really made the reconstruction so much easier. And it was at that moment that I went, this is so powerful. I have to follow this technology. I have to find these use cases. I have to find people who are working on this and somehow be part of taking this to scale so that it has social impact.
Very true. So when, Dr. Jane, something starts a little bit before its time, and you're one of the people who are understanding it before everybody else, let me say that way, and you're more of a pioneer, it's difficult to build credibility. So how were you able to make people understand that this is a great solution and they can trust this technology for a better future?
Well, I think honestly, the answer to that is persistence, because in 2017, when I started going and talking to international agencies and governments and donors and industries about this, honestly, mostly they just slammed the doors in my face. No one believed it and no one was interested at that time. But I kept on going, and the thing that gave me the courage to keep on going was actually LinkedIn, which is such a funny thing to say because I only started my LinkedIn account in 2017 when I went to my first blockchain conference, and I was trying to hand out old-fashioned business cards to people, and they're going, no, 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 LinkedIn, that's very old-fashioned. So I started my LinkedIn account and I started writing then because I thought, if I write about this, I have to clarify it in my own mind and I can share it with people. Maybe, that will be useful to them. So I started writing on LinkedIn blog posts about blockchain and healthcare, or blockchain and women, or blockchain and poverty. And what I found was that people just started following me because they were interested, because I was one of the early pioneers talking about this. And so I guess I knew there was something there. I had this growing community of people who were very interested and who were also doing things, and they'd say, hey, have a look at this project. And so that's what kept me going, because it was really probably another year till 2018 when some of the international agencies like the World Bank and the OECD started paying attention to it. But I think in the early days of anything, if you're out front and you're a pioneer, you have to have the courage to keep on going when other people doubt you.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Now in 2022, things have changed completely, and there is this hype. Everybody wants to build something in blockchain technology. Everybody wants to use it because they have understood the significance, and they've understood that, yes, this emerging technology is the future and we can only do so much through it. And then comes the concept of the metaverse. So in this time of hype that has started in 2022 and is carried forward to 2023 now, how do you feel about it? And what is your plan to help people in 2023 understand and, let me say, use the full potential of what is available and create something new out of that?
Look, it's a very exciting time, and it's especially exciting here in the UAE because the UAE's really embraced it so seriously. But what I would say to start with for your listeners is there's no one thing that is a metaverse. And so what made it famous and brought it to people's attention in 2022 was Mark Zuckerberg making the announcement that he was going to change Facebook to Meta. So everyone paid attention to that. But in fact, the metaverse is a combination of technologies that people have been working on for years, from gaming to augmented reality, extended reality, blockchain, and these things are all kind of coming together to produce an immersive experience, which we're calling the metaverse. Now, in my categorization, there's actually 4 different groups of people who are building metaverses at the moment. So one is the big techs like Apple, Facebook, Google, Amazon, but they will be building a metaverse that's very similar to the kind of products they have now, in that it won't be open, it won't be decentralized. They will still take your data and use it. They will still extract value from you for using their platform and products. So they're doing it. But no doubt it will be popular because they have millions and millions of people who are already on their platforms. The second group, which is really important, is the gaming community. Gaming is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, and there are 3 billion people who play games, and they already have the immersive experience, the gamification. People can win rewards and tokens and swords and all sorts of things in games. So it's only adding together that token economy, if you like, that allows them to bring in blockchain so that they can take value out of the games somewhere else, or they can exchange game items and use them elsewhere. So game is going to be really important. The third group are the Web3 proponents, who are starting from the beginning and trying to build Web3, the new generation of the internet of value, which is open, which is decentralized, which will reward content providers, where people can get the benefit from their data and from their contribution. So there's a few of them around. And then finally, I'm putting governments in their own category, because a lot of governments have got interested in this. So we have obviously Dubai with the Metaverse Congress, Saudi with NEOM, South Korea Seoul is putting all of its citizen services in the Metaverse. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch how all of those develop. So in terms of, people playing it forward, it's going to, so first of all, for sure, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're already there. So anything that comes to them that's immersive, that they can do on their mobile phone, they're going to embrace it. It's going to be slower for other generations, but I submit to you the 2 areas that I've really been looking at are health and education, because I think that metaverse experiences are going to be able to really extend and transform some of the aspects of the way we provide health and education services. And we will use them because we will see the utility in doing that. So I think for the generations that aren't digital, we've got to have a reason to go there. And I think those reasons are going to be given to us because we're going to want to access some of those things that are available to us.
Thank you so much for sharing in detail. So when it comes to these 4 case uses of the metaverse in the present times, and these 4 different stakeholders who are taking control of the metaverse and building it up, how do you feel that these 4 will continue to work more constructively and streamline user experiences? Because users are diverse. Like you have said, that some generations might have difficulty in using it as efficiently as others can, because the younger ones are more used to this kind of an experience. So how do you think that all these 4 stakeholders that we have just described are going to make sure that all the generations are able to benefit from it? And like education and healthcare, if they continue to build into this, they'll be more accessible and equally beneficial to all users, all kinds of users, because it could be much of a challenge to attract Generation Y, to attract even older generation towards this. Especially like my mom cannot even use her mobile phone the way I can use it. So how we're going to have these people a part of what we are doing?
So I think I want to answer that in 2 ways, because you did ask me in the earlier question, and I didn't really answer it, about what we're doing to try and make the whole experience more accessible and of value to people, and not to drive the digital divide and so forth. So I just want to take that first, and then I'll take the user experience, because user experience is a really important issue at the moment because it's not that good. But let me come to that second. So we believe that, and a lot of people around the world believe, that we really need to be collaborating together to work on standards and ethics and a common lexicon and all of those things, so that people are essentially reaching some agreement about, what is good and proper and how we protect children and how we make it accessible and so forth. So there are actually a number of different groups who've come together, and one that I'm part of is something called the World Metaverse Council. And we launched in Slovenia last year with something we've called the Bled Declaration. We actually want to bring it here to the UAE as its headquarters and home, although it would be global. And we're hoping, but we haven't achieved it yet, to set up under the new cooperatives law here. So anyone from anywhere can be part of this. So that's one side of it. And there are other groups like the Metaverse Safety Week and others who all have the same idea. We need to make sure people are protected, because there are things we already know about Web 2 that are problematic, and they're going to be more problematic in Web 3 and the Metaverse. So that's one. On the user experience side, I really agree there's a lot of work to be done. But one of the things that I believe is, if we're looking about widespread adoption, and I'm working with groups in countries like India and Pakistan, and you'd be amazed actually that they've got all of these things going on working on the metaverse. But I think for countries like that, it's going to have to be mobile enabled first. So people won't be able to afford Oculus headsets. That's for the privileged few. So a kind of augmented reality type experience on a mobile phone, and a number of different universities and centres are working on those. The second thing is really trying to make the user experience better, and think about issues like language, illiteracy, simple ways of people being able to be onboarded. But I think the really important one is social utility, that people see value in it. So, I don't know your mum, but if she's in some way not mobile and can't really get out of the home, what it's going to potentially enable her to do is to be able to go into a virtual space, talk to her healthcare providers, seek different sorts of care without leaving her home. But maybe she would love to travel, and she can go in and have an experience. She's always wanted to go to Antarctica. She can go to Antarctica in the metaverse and experience the whole feeling as if she were there. And for old people and for disabled people, I think this is going to open up incredibly new worlds, but also for students, because, you teach people geography, you can take them there. Yeah. You can take them to ancient Egypt, all of those things. Yeah, it's going to be so much more real for them. And then finally, what's happening now is, because you're going to say, well, I'm a teacher, how do I get a metaverse experience for my students? Well, the companies are responding to that now. So there's a number of companies that are developing what we're going to call Metaverse as a service, which means you can say, I want to build a digital twin of my hospital. You can go to that Metaverse as a service and say, hey, here's all the plans and designs. I need a digital twin. Or you're a teacher and you say, I want to take my students to Mount Kilimanjaro. And you can go and be assisted to build that virtual experience for Mount Kilimanjaro. So it's going to become easier for people to create those experiences in the metaverse that they want. And it has to become easier for people to access it. And there needs to be just a lot of really simple, plain speaking education.
Yes. I think the immersive experiences are going to change the way we are educating children, because they'll be able to experience more than just the text in their books, because earlier it was just the text, right? You mentioned something about making children more secure in the metaverse while they're using it. So yes, they are working on security, but how long do you think it will take them to ensure that the system is safe and secure and is able to understand when a minor is using it?
Well, this is a big issue, and people are working on it, because it's not just when a minor is using it, it's who the minor is interacting with and what kind of experiences they might be having. Because even though people have been using Web 2 and so forth, but the experiences in the metaverse, because they're going to be hyper realistic, could in fact have a much greater negative impact on a child if it was something bad that happened to them. And that could be anything from assault to bullying to witnessing death or something like that. So I think there's going to be a huge amount of work that needs to be done, both about regulation and standards and identity. And it's potentially an opportunity because blockchain can create these immutable identities. So if we're using that kind of blockchain self-sovereign identity, then that's a way of trying to ensure that people are who they're claiming to be. But it's definitely a problem. The Europeans are probably the furthest advanced, at least that I'm aware of, in trying to think about protecting children. But it's also questions like protecting children's rights. You know, in a world that's digital, does digital access become a human right? And so is it a children's right to be able to be, you know, having an experience in the metaverse with their friends? So I think there's so many different aspects of this that need to be clarified and thought out.
Yes, also the question about how far can the parents intervene to protect the child and to guide him? So this becomes a big space where we need a lot of answers.
Yeah, no, that's right. And we produced a book last year on applied ethics in a digital world. And one of the chapters was actually written by someone who was talking about, you know, what are the rights of children in relation to the digital world and, you know, looking at it from both sides. So I think it's a very interesting question and one that it's going to take a lot of work to try and tease it out.
Yes, very true, very true. When it comes to women, this is a very cliche question, but I'm asking for the sake of asking because we are in Stylfemina Talks and we have to talk a little bit about gender parity. So do you think that there is more gender balance now than it has ever been before? Do you think that more women are working in the tech field now than they've ever been doing before in the history?
So I think the statistics say no, but I really want to encourage women to think about this. And I believe that you shouldn't get put off by seeing that this particular industry is more dominated by men than women. If you're good, if you've got a good idea, if you want to build a product, if you want to be in a team, you just need to have the courage and be proud and go out there and do it. Because tech is great for women, because tech is flexible. You can do it from home 24 hours a day. You can work around your children and your families, and you can still participate in the industry. And so I think it's going to give women a lot of freedom from an employment point of view that didn't exist before. But I also think that women tend to lack courage and they lack confidence in themselves and they feel a little bit intimidated. And so that's why I think, you know, what you're doing, there are other groups that I've been involved with, Women in Blockchain, The Bigger Pie, you know, Women in Blockchain Talks, all of these things which are about giving women safe spaces to come and learn about this so they don't feel that nervous. But it's also, I have to be really honest, I was so nervous when I went to my first blockchain conference because there were a lot more men. They were all a lot younger than me. I just felt like very intimidated. I didn't really understand the technology very well. I thought no one's going to want to talk to me. But, you know, I did it. I went, I did it. And what happened to me was a bit like the LinkedIn experience. I got up and I started talking about social impact and SDGs, and I thought none of these people are going to be interested in this. But quite a lot of people came to me after the talk and they said, oh, you know, I didn't realize that it could do this. Can I help you? Let me link in with you. I want to follow what you're doing. This is really interesting. So, you know, I think just sometimes, and especially if you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you just have to be brave, put on your best red lipstick and your best red dress and get out there and look like you're being confident and just do it.
I like that very much. Seriously. Yes, you're very right. Sometimes we feel that, okay, I know this much, but I need to hold back a little bit and I'll be out there, and I'd want to be known once I'm ready. And many women would spend years and years and years preparing to be what they call ready, which I feel is okay, but you are ready as soon as you accept that you're ready. And the sooner we accept it, the better it is. This is what I feel. Like there should not be something holding us back from going out there and saying what we feel and what we've learned, and talking about what we can create. Because I see a lot of girls are still holding back, thinking that maybe this idea has already been replicated so many times and it has been reconstructed so many times, and so many people are already working on it. So why should I be doing it? What does it matter if I also do it? And if I'm doing it, then it is something that everybody does, so I shouldn't be talking about it. A lot of them feel that way. But what I feel is whatever every person is doing deserves recognition. It also deserves to be in the limelight, so that person's efforts are recognized and that person feels more encouraged to create more, because it takes a lot for a person to come up with ideas, create something, and sell it out with confidence to others. What do you think about that?
So I think you're right, but I want to also give a caveat, if you like, because sometimes we have an idea and we think it's a really good idea, but you only can learn the answer to that is if you get out there and test it with people. So you have to be prepared for your idea to change from talking with people, but you can't keep the idea to yourself. And a lot of founders of different projects, they start with an idea and they end up building something completely different, because once they get out there and they're talking to people and getting feedback, they realize they have to change. And so I think being a founder, you have to be agile, you have to always listen to other people, and you have to be prepared to change and not just hold on to your idea at any cost, because in the end, something like that, it's business. So if you want a successful business, you need customers, so you need to listen to your customers. So I think you're right. People need to get out there, but they have to be prepared to take feedback. Feedback is a gift. It helps you make your product better. And, listen to what people are saying to you and change. But the other thing too is life is short, and you never know, when it's going to be taken away from you, and you never know when things are going to change. And so you don't have years to wait. If you've got an idea and if you've got the opportunity to do it now, because you might succeed, you might fail, but you'll learn. And that's the important thing. And no successful entrepreneur has never made a mistake. None. Everyone makes mistakes, often fail, get up again, and then eventually make it work. So that's the life of an entrepreneur.
Yes, very true. I have failed many times and I'm very proud of that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being with me today, Dr. Jane. It's been amazing to talk to you. Is there a message that you want to share with the audience? Something that is specifically coming from your heart?
Look, I think it's just that thing about have the courage, address your fears. If you've got something that you want to do, just take a deep breath and step out there and try it. But the other thing is, women are very supportive of each other. So meet other women who are working in technology, and reach out to them. Especially in UAE, there's such a supportive community of people here working in tech. Is just get out there, meet people, go to conferences, just say hello. Even just yesterday, I was at Metaverse Summit, and just standing around in the networking area, people just talk to strangers. And so I know it's a little bit nerve-wracking to do that, but just get out there and say, hi, I'm Jane, what are you doing? And 99% of the time, people are happy to tell you and then to share.
Yes, I agree with that. We have to be out there, we have to stay connected, and we have to talk. That is very important. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Jane, and it's my honor to have you with us today. It was a very interesting talk. We will stay in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in person on 19th of January.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. Bye.